sermon on Sunday. It's a very important piece of advice to me. It's rather simple, but I consider it the most important advice that anyone has ever given me before. And it was given by my mother, which works out since it's Mother's Day. And that is that everything in our lives always gets better. No matter what, no matter how dark and deep we might feel or seem, it always gets better. I never really understood the importance of this, like when I was first told it, and it took me a while to really realize like where that comes from. But the first time like it really proved itself to me was with Hurricane Katrina. For those of you who don't know, my family used to live in New Orleans. I lived in New Orleans for 10 years. And then we evacuated because of Hurricane Katrina. And it's interesting how it works out because like we had a hotel room reserved in Arkansas, but they overbooked, so we couldn't go there. So then we decided to go to St. Augustine, where we had friends, but that didn't work because we couldn't get through Mississippi because people were trying to evacuate that way. So we just kind of started driving, not really knowing where we were going to go. We got lucky that one of our friends who I used to play baseball with, their family, or they have family that lives in Inverness, and so they were able to find us a motel. It took us 18 hours to get from New Orleans to Birmingham. That's normally about a 5-hour drive, depending on how fast you're going. And that was just kind of like the beginning of it all. I know that we had 2 dogs and 2 cats at the time, and so we evacuated in 2 cars. We had the 2 cats in one car and the 2 dogs in the other car. I was in the cat car, and I had a very old cat in a kennel on my lap, and cats don't really like kennels. And so I had that cat urine kennel on my lap for a solid portion of that entire trip. So that was just a really wonderful thing for me, gotta say. And so we finally got here. We got here on the day of that it hit, and we went to the motel, and it's the Oak Mountain Lodge off of 280. And it's got 1 room, and it had half a kitchen-ish and like 1 bathroom. So it was the 4 members of my family in that 1 room for 10 days. That motel didn't allow pets at that time. And so we had to keep our dogs and cats in the car in August in Birmingham, which was a little rough. So Ransom and I spent a lot of our time out in the car, hanging out with them, just like spending time with them, because what else are we going to do? And so we did that. Eventually, they did let the animals in to our room. I mean, the manager was just like, I think you have enough going on right now, we'll let you do that. But, you know, at that point, then we just had our 4 members of our family, plus 2 dogs and 2 cats. One of them being that old cranky cat, and the other one being that cat that was less than a year old, and was bouncing off the walls and having tons of fun messing with that other cat. So that was just like very hectic. We had all of this going on just right then. And we weren't entirely sure like what was happening until one day we were watching the news and a helicopter footage of a shopping center about a block away from our house was shown on TV on like CNN, and it had water up to the roof. And so at that point, we were like, okay, now we'll have to actually do something, because we had no idea. We had packed for like maybe 3 days, and now we were stuck in a town that we had never really heard of, and we're just kind of up in the air about the whole thing. Around that same time, in those 10 days that we stayed in that motel, I got sick with my first of about 5 times that I had strep throat that year. And so I was terribly sick, and then there was the fact that my parents didn't want us watching the TV since there was only 1 room. We didn't really have anywhere to go, so we put lawn chairs right outside our door, and Ransom and I just kind of sat out there and did whatever while my parents were watching TV, because I mean, they had to know what was going on, but they didn't want us seeing all of that, especially after that one footage reel, and it was just, we weren't really sure what to do. And so, as I was sick, my mom and I went to a doctor, also on 280. And while we were there, we saw apartments. We saw an apartment complex that was behind there that was renting out rooms. And so while my mom and I were at the doctor, my dad and Ransom went and got an apartment for us. And that was just kind of like the first step. I felt like through the whole thing, it was bad, and then every once in a while we'd just have something that kind of like boosted our spirits a little, and then granted it still was bad, but it just kind of like helped us keep going. And so that was the first one, was that we were able to get an apartment and move out of that hotel. And so the day that they moved in was my first day of school. And my first day of middle school. So not only was I in new school, but I was in middle school. And I don't know how many of you guys remember middle school, but middle school is a really bad place. It's terrible. Going along with this theme, I've always said that if you can make it out of middle school, like intact, physically, mentally, you are a strong enough person to deal with anything that ever comes your way in life, ever. No matter what it is, because middle school is just really bad. You all smell really bad. And it's just ugly. And I don't know how many of you guys remember me when I first came here, but I was about like this tall, and I had, maybe my arms were like that big around. And that was just a really hard time for me because, you know, middle school can be a tough place, and I had just kids picking on me all the time. I mean, it was all right. I feel like I'm a better person because of it. That kind of just like goes along with the whole thing. That, I mean, even if it seems dark and depressing, then it's all right because it'll make you a better person. So in middle school, just keeping up with school while at the same time trying to deal with everything and in my old home was hard. But the second day of school, I started on trumpet. I started playing in the band. And that, again, was just one of those boosts, and it really helped me throughout my entire life so far. I mean, I'm still in it. I still love playing here. I still love playing at the school. And it's just been really helpful, especially in middle school with a new place where I didn't know people that well. I was able to meet friends in band who I am still friends with today, which was really good for me at that time. And it was really nice to have those friends because my dad especially had to continuously go back, maybe once or twice every 2 weeks. We had to go back down to New Orleans once they opened the city because we had to get all of our stuff out of our attic and stuff like that. We had 7 feet of water in our house, and so we got lucky in the fact that everything in the attic was fine, everything in the attic was safe. And we got lucky again with the fact that down the street from us was a canal, and the levee on the other side of that canal broke. And so, I mean, at least we had it in our attic instead of our whole house being gone. And that was just really hard for me, especially with my dad being gone all the time. We got lucky with my mom. I consider her a really incredible person because she teaches special ed. And special ed is a really hard thing to teach, and we got lucky with the fact that the school, the Oak Mountain Intermediate School, needed special ed teachers because not everyone can teach it. So she was able to get a job while my dad was going back and getting all of our supplies. But then once he got back, he had to start studying for the bar because it looked like we would be here for at least a little while. And so my dad was always studying, up late at night, almost every night. And that was just really difficult. We had to miss out on a lot of things that normally we would have been able to do, like vacations and stuff like that, because my dad just had to study. But I just gained a lot of respect for him with that, especially because that was the 3rd bar exam that he's taken that he's passed in a different, like, he's taken 3 bar exams in different states and passed them all, which I consider very impressive. And I just gained a lot of respect for him with that, because it sounds a little cliche, but it showed to me that hard work really does pay off and that things do get better if you work at them. And then like once my dad passed the bar exam, he started working for a law firm that wasn't particularly nice. They had really awful hours. I remember trying to stay up late until he got home, but I was never able to. And the boss back to like our apartment that we had just moved into, it was a boost, but that was really difficult because Ransom and I had to share a room. And that's not always fun when you're two teenagers. And so for about 6 months, we shared a room, but then our contract was up, so we moved to a 3-bedroom apartment. And that was, again, a little bit better. And then we finally moved into our house, and I'm incredibly happy at our house, just with our house. It's just, I love it to death. It's got the forest in the backyard, and it's just wonderful, for me, at least. And that was just like, slowly but slowly getting better with everything that was going on. After that came high school, and freshman year with the 2009 election, that was a rough year for me because I don't always agree with my friends on everything around here. And so that was just a really hard time for me because I constantly had my friends like pretty much yelling at me about what I believe. But again, I feel like that's made me a better person because I truly believe that every time that I've ever had to state my opinion to somebody, that's made my opinion that much stronger, and it's made me that much better of a person. And so, despite the fact that I was having a really hard time with my friends at that time, and I was kind of lost with where I was as a person, now I can look back and say I'm incredibly grateful for that happening because now I know who I am, and I can talk to people and tell them what I believe, and I'm just in a very good place. And that's really what it's all about. And then, like, after that, we had Allison come, and Allison introduced me to Invisible Children. And that was junior year. And my entire life, pretty much now, has been devoted to Invisible Children. Just doing everything at the school and then stuff here at the church. It's just been an incredible experience for me, and it's given me direction with where I want to go. And so, despite the fact that I evacuated and I lost all of my friends in New Orleans, I've made new friends here. I've come to a beautiful church. I love playing my trumpet. I have direction with my life in terms of like what I want to do. I want to go into environmental science, and part of the way that I discovered that was here. I mean, I know that New Orleans, or Louisiana is very pretty state, but Alabama just has mountains and streams and waterfalls, and my dad and I have a lot of good memories of us going on hikes and canoeing and fishing some, and it's just been really wonderful because I've always kind of felt that I feel closest to God when I'm in nature, when I'm outside and breathing fresh air, and through that I've been able to find what I want to do with my life, and I just feel like I wouldn't be the same person if I had stayed in New Orleans. I know that I wouldn't be the same person. I wouldn't have found all of these beautiful things in my life. I had like all of my friends at school, but then I had all of my friends at church. I remember Grace Barron was one of my greatest friends. And then all of the other youth group members who were older than me, but I still was able to look up to them, despite the fact that I don't think Bob thinks they're very good role models all the time. But I was just able to look up to them, and I was able to feel happy where I was, and I'm still happy where I am because I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. This is like the right thing for me. And I just know that no matter what happens, everything will always get better in my life, no matter how dark or deep I feel, or how far down I may feel at the time. I know that I can look back on this and say, I'm a better person because of that, and I'm a happier person because of that. Amen.
Amen.